Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TUF. We're here in Division 1 this evening in Baku for round 8 of the championship. As we are approaching halfway through the season, the table is starting to take shape. A lot of close battles going on, so all points are valuable. Current leader of the championship is Good Aids by 8 points to Mr Ice Cold Andy, and Pubster Andy is about 18 to 20 points behind, I believe, from there on in third place. It's been a while since I've been in the box, but it's nice to be back. And I'd like to welcome along my old colleague, Raver's Revenge. Welcome along, buddy.
Yeah, hello. It's good to be here again. Looking forward to it. Looked on the time trial list before this. There's about 5 or 6 of these guys in the top 100, so obviously a little bit different from racing and stuff like that, but it shows you what they can do. High standard, of course.
Exactly, yeah. Like I said, 5 or 6 of these guys in the top 100 in the world on this track. So we should expect some blistering times tonight and some very close battles. So we've got 17 of the regular drivers, and we've got 3 of the Division 2 lads, I believe. So I know we've got Luca, who's a reserve driver, and then we've got Matty Suddens and Chris Logan representing Division 2. So they made a step up for this evening. But we've got all of the big hitters in regards to the championship in the shape of Good Aids. We've got Pub, we've got Andy, we've got Fuzzer. And we've got Ox as well, who's had a couple of good results recently, so it should be quite interesting. I think a dark horse for this evening would be Mr Costa. I think he's 37th in the world on this circuit, if I'm not mistaken, so he's certainly one to watch out for. And if anything, well, if last night's qualifying by Pagani, who got pole, so excellent job from him, if there's anything to go by, then we should be looking anything below a 110.5. I think if any of these guys can get, sorry, not 110, 140.5, and if any of these guys can get close to 140 flat, then I think they'll be nailed on for pole position, or certainly towards the front of the grid. So it looks like we've got a dry qualifying as well, which is always good to see. Slightly overcast, but I don't think it'll affect them in this session too much. So yeah, should be interesting. What's your thoughts going into the race, Michael?
Also, Luca, I know you talk about, was it Costa?
Yeah.
Costa is up there, yeah, and Luca as well. I think he was either 16th or 17th in the world.
Oh wow.
So, insane pace. It's definitely up there anyway.
Yeah, certainly.
But yeah, also, the relegation battle is forming up as well. So, we'll have a look at that in the race.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's nice to see a full grid again. It's showing that TUF's come a long way. As Good Aids currently goes fastest with a 140.2, so an incredibly impressive first stint. If anyone can get below 140s tonight, that's some properly good going. So yeah, a very, very impressive time.
George Ellis is the only one not to have come out the pits just yet, unless he came out and went straight back in, but yeah,
possibly. We're going to go on board with Pubster Andy, who's coming up to complete his flying lap. He seems to have found his form again recently, so let's see whether he can continue that this evening. Running a bit wide, coming into the start of sector 3. It'd be interesting to see if we get how many retirements we get tonight, because obviously Baku, being a street circuit, is quite well renowned for its tight corners and quite a lot of incidents. I think a lot of these guys could possibly overshoot it and clip the wall, get some damage, and turn 1 and 2 on the circuit as well is going to be proving to be quite important. I think if you're in the midfield, you need to be extremely careful. Okay, so all of the guys so far, apart from George Alice, NR and Andy, have all set times, and we're looking about a 2-second difference between first, who is Good Aids, and 17th, who is Napola. 18th now, sorry. So yeah, quite impressive. We've got 4 drivers so far who've got just below 141, which I think only 3, maybe 4 of the guys in Division 2 did last night. So quite similar in terms of pace at the moment.
John's on a flyer. Ooh, Ox, I don't know if he got in his way a little bit. It seemed as though John was on a flyer, and just on the last corner before the flat out, final part of the circuit. John was coming round, just about to enter that last corner, and Ox was kind of, don't know if he didn't know he was there, but John kind of backed away when he saw him, sort of thing. So I think
Yeah, well,
John might be pitting now.
I'm just on board with Corey, and he's just under 4 tenths up coming into the final sector, so we could see a 140.9 possibly for Corey.
Okay.
Maybe slightly less. There we go, 140.9, that's a good guess, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, nice.
Complete luck. Anybody that's watching knows that I don't know what I'm talking about, so no need to try and brag. As Costa comes back into the pits, as we're approaching about 5 minutes to go with the session, I'd imagine most of these guys will be coming back in to put on their fresh sets of tyres, ready for their final run. Hopefully the track doesn't get too congested. It is quite a big track here at Baku, but hopefully the guys don't struggle too much in the way of track position. They need to allow themselves enough time.
Yeah, Lennon in the comments is saying he thinks there's going to be 7 retirements tonight.
7 retirements. Lennon, if it happens, mate, I'll buy you a beer. So interestingly, we've got Mr. Ice Cold Andy on an outlap now. I mean, clever to a certain degree because the track will be quiet, but equally, is it sensible because he's not really going to take full advantage of when the track's at its quickest? Right at the end, so
enough fuel in there, hasn't he, to go for a couple of laps. Let Wiskett go past. So
hello to everybody watching in the stream. 13 people live at the moment. I know my granddad's watching as normal, so hello, mate. Katamise, Lennon, Pagani, welcome to all of you boys. Make sure you keep the comments coming, and we will be jumping to those as the session goes on and the race goes on. Okay, so most of the guys, apart from a small handful inside the pits. Yeah, interesting from Fuzzer. Pagani just made a good point. He's got a 141.5. He's down in P14 at the moment, so I imagine we'll see a considerably better time from him. Although Baku, as silly as it sounds, it's quite a difficult track to drive, because if you clip any of those curbs, any of like the bumper curbs, you can lose so much time. And obviously the castle section, not forgetting that. I imagine we'll see a few casualties there this evening. I think there might have been a corner cut from Andy there, I'm not too sure. He's still in max fuel, so I don't think he's jeopardising too much. Ooh, had a bit of a wobble. He's certainly pushing hard.
that might have been a bit of perhaps lag, or I don't know, because the wing damage came up, but then he got his wing back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's strange. I've not known Andy to struggle with lag, but this corner here in particular, the final corner before the start of sector 3 is quite difficult. That sort of downhill left, because you can overshoot that and hit the wall, or sometimes you can cut the corner. But then again, if you hit the curb too much, you go up on 2 wheels and you lose a good few tenths. It'll be interesting to see what Andy's time is when he crosses the line. I think setups will be quite important tonight as well, because obviously it's an extremely long back straight. Yeah, Andy crosses the line 142.7, so it did obviously jeopardise him quite a lot. So we'll have to keep a close eye on him, see what he can do. But I think a lot of these guys can go better. Got the soundboard of Luca at the moment. He's the closest person to good aids. Most of the other guys are on their outlaps. So I think he might be looking to get 2 runs in on his final
Very
stint.
busy, of course, at the moment.
Indeed, good to see.
Where's Fuzzer in all this? I'm just having a quick look at him.
P14.
Yeah, I was just seeing where he was on the track.
So Luca's had
He's on a
quite
flying lap.
Yeah, Luca's had quite a solid lap. Do you want to stand by with the Fuzzer and let us know how he's getting on? If you pull up his telemetry, let us know what his sector times are doing. Oh, Luca's had a wobble. I don't think this will be an improvement. Never know though. Famous last words.
Oh, Oh, Fuzzers had to back out of his lap because Napler was in the way.
As Luca's coming across the line, and he improves by 0.04 of a second, so he puts himself into the 140.6 bracket. But as it stands, Date is looking good for pole.
Yeah, this is a one-shot quali now for Fuzzer, so he's going to cross the line with only a handful of seconds to spare. As soon as he saw Napler, he went straight back down into lean mode straight away, and then ran the final corner back into max. So he's going to cross the line with about 15 seconds left, and then it's just one-shot quali for him from here.
Yeah. Interestingly, Ox disqualified from the session for parking in a dangerous location. So we're on board with this man, Good 8. Can he improve on his time? Shoots up towards the line. Does he improve? Yes, he does. 140 point flat. Takes 2.5 tenths off of his time. So as we said earlier on, if anyone can get to a 140 flat, they're looking good for pole. So looking good for that man so far. NR and P3 in the McLaren. Just about to start sector 3.
Fuzzer is 4 tenths up on sector 1. So that would be a 141.1, which would put him about 8th or 9th.
Well, Fuzzer needs to find a 2.5 seconds. So we've got NR about to come over the line. Does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes up into P2. But still 6 tenths off of Good 8. And what a brilliant qualifying from Corey so far as well. Currently in P5.
Yeah, Fuzzer now 9 tenths up.
9 tenths. So where would that put him?
140.6, so about 3rd, 4th. Depending on this last sector, he's coming across the line any minute now. He will come across the line.
And he goes
140.7.
And can Corey improve? No, he can't, unfortunately. Just shy of his time, but finds himself in P8. Mr. Costa goes second with a 140.4. So as we complete qualifying, we'll give you a...
from Chris as well.
Yeah, I didn't see where he ended up. Nice. So we've got Good 8 on pole with Mr. Costa alongside him. And then we've got Luca and Pubsterani in 3rd and 4th respectively. NR and Nikos on the 3rd row of the grid, with Fuzzer and Corey on the 4th row. Quite surprising to see Fuzzer so far down compared to normal. Then we've got John and Matty Suddens rounding off the top 10. And then towards the back 10 we've got Shone and Chris. Then we've got Funky and Josh. On row 8 we've got Woods and Napala, Whiskit and Andy on row number 9, and then George Alice and Ox on the back row. I actually think George Alice actually had a qualifying ban tonight, if I'm not mistaken. It's just come into my head.
Okay.
So, but then again, we saw Matty Suddens last night start last and finish 3rd. So
anything can happen.
Certainly can. So we've got about 30 seconds or so to go till the race starts. Who are you tipping for the podium tonight? Everyone in the chat, let us know. And what do you think, Michael?
How are you going to get past Good 8 when he's on form like that? Do you know what I mean? But this is Azerbaijan. Do you know what I mean? There's no point predicting. Because anything can happen. They're all quick. They're all quicker than us anyway. Well, me.
Yeah. Well,
but,
like I said, we'll have to wait and see. 5 seconds to go to the race start. I think safety cars could prove a point tonight as well. Depends on how clear the first couple of corners are. If you can watch the midfield, Michael, I'll stay on board with the leaders.
Yep.
As we are 5 lights. And we are away in Baku. Looks like it's a good start for the front runners. Good 8 has had a great start. Easily around the first corner. We've got Luca and Pubsterani going side by side. There's contact. Pubsterani's dropped down loads of places.
Something's happened at the back. Oh, who's that? I'm going to try and have a look. It's Napler and Funky Cobra. Funky Cobra's out and Napler's in all sorts of trouble.
Oh god, we've got cars going 3 wide.
Yeah, complete wing break off for Napler.
Oh, not good for Napala. So probably stick on the mediums now and try and make them last. Fuzz has had a good start.
George Alice got front left damage, as has Woods.
Pubster Andy's lost out on 5 places. How's Corey got on? Corey's gained a place as well, so he's up into P7. A good solid start for the top 3. And then NR is up to 4th and Fuzzer has moved up 2 places into 5th. Oh, Fuzzer's clipped the wall. Has he got any damage from it?
Oh, Josh has hit the wall.
I think
he's got damage.
By the looks of things, I think Fuzzer has got damage.
Yeah. Unless that's a
Unless it's a glitch. But he seems to be losing some time. Oh, a few of the guys hitting the wall there. I think we'll see a few casualties here tonight. We've got yellow in sector 2. Not too sure what's happened. But we're going to see Fuzzer coming to the pits. And how many guys are going to come into the pits from the start. Josh McGill's had a good start, up a couple of places. Matty Suddens, Division 2 driver, is in P9.
Josh has got wing damage, total wing damage.
Is he?
Yeah, he's losing places as well now.
Well, Fuzzer hasn't come in, so I can only think that it was a... it looks like his front wing's completely on. There must have just been a bit of a glitch. Not too sure. Anyway, Mr. Costa is about 8.5 tenths behind Grenades. And Luca about a second behind him, so the field's slowly starting to take some shape. And then we've got Corey all over the back of Matty Suddens, taking a bit of a dive up. He goes a bit deep.
Did he touch the wall?
Yeah, it looked like he touched the wall. Reminds me of a similar move I saw last night on a certain Tekken, but nothing more needs to be said about that.
We got to lap 2 before you mentioned it.
Sorry, had to be done.
So Josh goes on to the mediums. He's the only one out of the guys that pitted from wing damage to go on to the mediums. The rest of them have gone to softs.
Gone to softs. Well, maybe they're anticipating possibly a safety car, or... I mean, tyre wear's not too bad around Azerbaijan. Funky Cobra's now left the session. Hopefully it doesn't cause a glitch. No, it hasn't, thankfully. We've got Matty Suddens going to be looking at Corey again. Ox on the back of Josh McGill. As they approach into the castle section. Very, very easy to get that wrong. Even on the exit, if you go too deep and brake too late, you can lose so much time there. Mr. Ice Cold Andy down in P14, so at the moment it's all good news for Grenades.
Matty Sutton's having a good race. Division 2 driver came 3rd last night and now he's up into 9th.
Yeah, he certainly is. He had some good pace last night. Nice to see there's not been too many gaps formed as well at the moment, just with John at the moment, who's on the back of Matty Suddens. Is Matty going to take a look at Corey? No, he's not. Sensible.
Although Corey did go a little bit wide.
Yeah, is Matty going to take a look? Might have been a slight touch here, I'm not too sure. Couldn't quite see, but we're going to stay on board with this battle for the time being. We've got 4 cars from 8th down to 11th, I believe it is. As Corey and Matty are going side by side. Matty's going to switch to the inside. No, he's not. Just letting Corey know that he's there. Sensible driving, just needs to be patient. And Josh McGill's retired.
Josh McGill. He's just decided to call it a day.
Is he?
Yeah.
It's a shame for Josh. Good lad, got a lot of pace about him as well. But we're staying on board with this battle. We've got a 5-car train now. From Corey down to, I think that's Wiskett, who's in 12th. See what the exits are like between Matty and Corey. Matty will have DRS. I imagine he'll probably get the move done. It's getting very close to the back of Corey already. Coming to the outside, it should be quite a simple move.
Yeah, he's got the pace, hasn't he?
Certainly has. Yeah, he's made the move.
Straight line speed. Oof.
Yeah, it's frightening. And he gets the move done.
Yeah, nice.
Nicely done.
And John. What happened to Corey?
I'm not too sure.
He lost about 4 places. I stayed on board with Matty Suddens.
Yeah, so did I. But Corey's now all over the back of Whiskey. These two had a very good race in Canada last time out. Is Corey going to take a look? No, he's sensible, holds off.
On your screen, Aaron, does Corey have wing damage?
I'm not too
Front
sure
right.
because it looks like it. It looks like he's got one of his plates missing, but it can sometimes be a bit of a glitch. If he did, he would have got it on the previous lap when he hit that wall.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should be quite interesting to see. So we're going to go down towards the bottom of the grid where we've got Woods, who is having a look at George Alice. George changing his line quite a lot. "26 comments in the stream by lap 4, which is good to see. Keep them coming, gentlemen and ladies, if there is one watching. You never know." Yeah, Woods is keeping pace with George Alice at the moment, but we can go up towards Shone, who is very close to the back of John. Let's see if he can get a move done. Looks like he had a good exit there.
Nikos threatening Fuzzer on the straight.
Oh god, they're going 3 wide.
Oh, now Pubster Andy's there.
They're going to go side by side.
Oh,
Ooh, bit of a touch. And they're still going side by side. Fuzzer just gets his nose ahead. But now those guys will have DRS. So we've got Nikos on the back of this as well. Is he going to have a look? Oh, no, he's not. This should be quite a good battle to keep an eye on between these two. Well, these three, sorry. George Alice goes quickest on softs already, which is very impressive. With the 143.1, I believe that was. Pubster, Andy and Fuzzer know each other all too well.
Matty Sutton's pitted. He's put the mediums on.
As he must have picked up a bit of damage in. That's the only thing I can assume. Fuzzer's pulled out a few tenths to Pub. And now Pub's close right up to the back of him. Ooh, getting very, very close. The saving grace for Fuzzer right now is the fact that he's probably going to get, well, he's going to get DRS off of NR. So NR could be the sitting duck in all of this. But Pubster Andy very close to the back of Fuzzer now.
Yeah.
Going to go on board. I imagine Pub will take a dive here.
Just doesn't quite have the pace in the
No,
straight
but
line.
well held there by Fuzzer. Like I said, Fuzzer was helped by the DRS. But I can only think that NR is going to be the sitting duck out of all of this. I think he's probably going to lose out to all 3 of the guys behind him eventually. And interestingly enough, Luca, if we go a bit further up the field, is very, very close to the back of Mr. Costa.
Oh, NR went into the wall there. Glanced the wall and let Fuzzer past.
And well, he's definitely got damage. His front right, I can't see anything on that side of his car. If we go to broadcast mode, hopefully we'll get a good view of that. So what this has done, yeah, it looks like NR's missing the front right part of his wing, if I'm not mistaken. Well, there's certainly some damage there. But what this has done is it's allowed Fuzzer the opportunity to pull away and give himself some breathing space from Pubster Andy, because Pub does look quick tonight.
Yeah, there's definite damage there. He really struggled to hold the car on that corner.
Pub's going to go up the inside. There we go. It was important for Pub to get that move done. He didn't want to be behind NR for too long. But interestingly enough, will we see NR come into the pits?
Going to lose another place to Nikos as well.
He certainly is.
Or is he going to cut across to go back in the pits now?
I think even if he wanted to, I don't think it would have been safe to do so. So if NR had any plans of coming into the pits, that's going to have been jeopardised. He's going to lose a lot of time now. But Fuzzer has pulled a just over a second gap from Pubster Andy, which is going to help him a lot in terms of the fact of Pub won't be in DRS range. Going to go down towards Mr. Ice Cold Andy now, as he's on the back of Chris Logan with DRS open. Is he going to take a late move? No, he's not. But Chris won't make it easy for him.
He qualified in 12th and he's still 12th, so he's doing
Exactly.
right.
Well, that's the thing about Chris. He might not be absolutely lightning quick, but he's extremely consistent, and I do honestly commend him for that. I know he gets a lot of stick from people and whatnot, but he's a good lad, and yeah, very consistent driver, always very reliable as well, so you can't fault him on that aspect of things. So hopefully he can get himself a nice couple of points tonight. He's quite a regular in both divisions, so he devotes a lot of time to the league, but at the moment Mr. Ice Cold Andy looks absolutely electric behind him, and Chris is doing very well not to crack under pressure here.
You've seen who's in 10th place? It's Wiskit. Wiskit is the only permanent driver in Division 1 yet to have scored a point. He's bottom of the league at the moment.
Is he really?
Mm.
Wow, I didn't look at that.
The bottom four are Wiskit on 0 points. Corey, obviously, his TUF F1 account, is on 7, but it's shown also on 7. And then it's Woods on 10, and Napler above him on 16.
Well, I think as
Shown's in 7th, so...
As it currently stands, I think they're 2 drivers short in Division 1, so I think it's only going to be 2 drivers coming down as it currently stands.
Okay.
And then 4 going up. But Andy seems to have lost out a lot of time to Chris, who was really caught up to the back of Corey and Wiskit, who are still battling, which isn't a surprise. Like I said, I myself was involved in a battle with these two in Canada, and they didn't leave each other alone for a large proportion of the race. Matty Suddens goes quickest on Super Softs, so he's made another stop. Bit of a bang on the wall there from Chris.
Yeah, nitty gritty this train at the moment, isn't it?
It certainly is. Well, one thing I will say is Mr. Costa and Luca are doing a fantastic job, because, I mean, looking at just approaching a third of the way through the race now, and Good Age is only ahead by 2.5 seconds, so still a lot to play for.
Yep.
So we're going to go up to... Go on.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to say NR pitted and he's on the medium, so that'll be it in terms of pit stops for him. Wait, what position was he before that pit?
Well, he was in 4th, wasn't he? Then he lost out to Fuzzer when he hit the wall, and then he dropped down to 6th or 7th. Right, Corey's coming to the pits. So hopefully Corey will stick on the softs, and that will see him out until the end of the race. Not covering too much fuel at the moment. It's only got plus 0.5 laps of fuel. Is he going to go into the softs? Yes, he is. Just going to have a quick look at the tyres. Okay, so you've got the top 7 who are all on super softs, joined by Mr. Ice Cold Andy and Matty Suddens. The rest of the field are on softs, other than NR, who's the only car on track on medium tyres. And Corey has rejoined in P15, and he's within DRS range of Ox in front of him.
Ice Cold Andy's just can't find a way past Chris.
And Matty Suddens has retired.
He's just retired in the pits.
Cool. Right, Mr. Ice Cold Andy's all over the back of Chris now. He's basically pushing Chris's car. I imagine Andy will get a move done here. because he's on the softer compound as well. Sorry, the harder. Yeah, sorry, no, the softer compound. Although Chris will get DRS.
Yeah, that might protect him.
I do think Chris has better straight line speed than Andy. I think that's quite evident at the moment. So if Andy's higher downforce set up, and Andy's actually running over 3 laps of fuel he's got spare. So he's got the opportunity to burn them, but I think we're going to see some pit stops quite soon. I think Good Aids will probably come in around a lap 12. And we've got Chris trying to have a look at Wiskit, but can't quite get the move done. Chris showing some good pace here, considering these guys are on supers. I know their tyres are going to be more worn, but still very impressive. Highest of the soft runners at the moment.
Oh, Ice Cold Andy's had a bit of a wobble. Although it seems as though his car's alright. Ice Cold Andy has made up 9 positions as well, so he's still having a good race.
Yeah, certainly is.
Wiskit has made 10 positions up to 7th. Although obviously there's been some pit stops. Oh, nice one, Andy. He's past Chris.
Well, I've just read a comment in the stream from Pagani, and he's made quite a good point there, where he said, "Well, Aaron, Chris is running your setup, so you should know how quick it is in a straight line," which is a very good point. I forgot about that. I think Pagani, you should probably take over this from me, mate. Right, looks, I think, those guys going to come in? Oh, yeah. Oh no, Andy stays out. Chris is going to have a look around the outside. Is he going to try to switch back on him? I didn't quite have the grip to make it work, but Andy's covering the inside line. Good defending from Andy. But I'm very impressed with Chris.
Yeah, he's giving it a good go, isn't he?
Yeah, look at that slingshot at the corner he's got there. If he can hold this around the outside, that would be a superb move. Oh, he's broken quite early. Ah, Chris. Should have gone for that.
Yeah, but if you can keep up with him. Got better straight line speed, as we said, so.
Certainly. Also, Shone's up in P6, so he could pick up some valuable points tonight if he... I know he obviously hasn't pitted yet, but still a long way to go.
You say lap 12 for the guys on the front to pit, roughly?
I reckon so. I reckon Good Aids will come in at the end of the next lap.
I think Luke is slightly catching up to Costa. Well, his interval came down, now it's going back up.
That gap seems to be coming down and then going back up. And I think whenever Luca gets close to Costa, he just kind of steps it up a little bit. So who out of
a helicopter shot?
I say, okay, so Costa
and
Luca have come in. So if we keep an eye on this then, so when they came into the pits, Costa was about 4 seconds behind Good Aids. So let's see how much of a difference that makes. But we're on board with the leader at the moment. Going to take on board. There's not too much else happening on track. I know Fuzzer's quite close to Nikos, but
very busy pit lane.
Certainly is. Hopefully none of the cars stack.
I think they're all different teams. I was just thinking that myself.
If I was Good Aids, I'd have my car in Rich, trying to, because he doesn't want to be under any form of risk. But Chris Logan finds himself up in second. I know he's still got a pit, but good on him. And what this will do, because Chris is on worn soft tyres and Costa's on fresh ones, if
Good Aids hold up Costa, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. So there we go. Okay, so Shone has pitted and come out in P14. But yeah, it's definitely holding up Costa, because I think from what the guys on the stream were saying last night, it's about 23 seconds for a pit stop. And the gap at the moment is 26 seconds. So I think what we'll do is we'll go down and see what Good Age is doing. Yeah, he comes in lap 12.
Oh, the Good Age just went to him then. Excuse me. He kind of braked a bit too early on the pit lane entry there, just making sure that he didn't get a penalty, but maybe lost a couple of tenths, I don't know. Don't know if that's going to make much of a difference.
Okay, Mr. Costa gets back past Chris. And
And
where
he's
is
down the
Good Age?
straight.
So Good Age comes out. Yeah, and he holds on to P1. Costa
Although it's
can
only
see him.
2.7 now.
Yeah, so Good Age has lost about a second and a half, and I imagine it probably would have been a bit more if Costa had come out just in front of Chris.
Yeah.
But now, let's see what happens. Both of these guys on fresh tyres. And Corey's retired. No, what's happened?
What's happened? Oh, he's lost it.
Oh, his wheels
in the pits.
His wheels going along by a bit of string. Not too sure what's going on there. You see that?
He's lost. I can see him in the pits. Yeah, he must have lost it coming into the pits.
Yeah, he's. Are they going to put fresh tyres on him and send him back out?
I don't know. We're going to find out. We're having a good go at fixing it.
Oh, no,
that wheel is still. No, he's gone. Good effort, pit crew. Good effort.
Yeah. I mean, you can't fault the guys for effort, can you? I'd say 10 out of 10 for effort, 1 out of 10 for execution.
Yeah.
But we'll roll with it. Anyway, right, Luca, where are you? Sorry, I'm getting myself lost. Luca is all over the back of Chris. But Luca's certainly doing himself plenty of favours tonight because he's showing some great pace. I must say, although he's going to drop down the order on his pit stop, I am very impressed with Chris tonight. He's done a great job.
Yeah.
I imagine Chris will probably go to about lap 14, 15 on those softs.
But then it'll be on the super softs, so you never know.
Yeah.
Costa goes fastest.
So it does, and Good Age will see that. And you can see those guys in front of Luca gets up into P3. Pubster Andy has his fuel light on at the moment, and George Alice is extremely close to the back of NR as they're and he's got DRS active. Is he going to take a look? No, he's sensible and holds up. NR's got good pace, so I don't think George will rush this. Then again, I say that. Bit of a touch.
Ooh.
And they're side by side on the exit. NR's going to have the inside line. And NR makes you stick. Good driving from those two. Yeah, George just ducking out to let him know that he's there. I've not seen too much in the way of penalties. I know it's quite difficult to get penalties here, but always good to see. So it's always down to pure pace and driving ability for the final result tonight. And Pubster Andy is all over the back of Chris now. Yeah, Pub's had a good slingshot. And what is Chris going to do? Is Chris going to pit?
Not yet.
No, he's staying out. I imagine it'll probably be the end of this lap. If he holds out for any more, then he's going to ruin his own race, I think. Then again, if Chris pits now, his rejoin position is 8th.
Okay, that's pretty good. Oh, George Alice. Speeding in the pit lane.
Oh dear. Right, actually, that's a good point. So George Alice won't be serving that now. I wouldn't imagine. I'm just going to keep a quick eye on that. No, he didn't serve it now. So if he only gets that one, I'll be quite keen to see what happens at the end of the race with that, whether it does actually double it onto your time. Okay, Good still out in front. He's extended his lead by half a second to Costa after Costa set that fastest lap, so
Yeah, he's responded, hasn't he?
it certainly has. But what this has done for Good is, if it stays this way, then he's going to really extend his gap at the top of the table, because Pub Saran only in 4th, and he had quite a gap to him, and his closest rival Andy, who was only 8 points behind him, was down in P10. So Andy only going to pick up a point, so Good could actually be 32 points clear by the end of this race. Okay, we've got.
Chris gonna pit?
I don't know. You'd like to think so, but he's hanging left. So imagine he's going to. Please pit, Chris.
Costa goes fastest. Wow, he's absolutely chopped that gap to Good by nearly a second. 8 tenths.
Well, this could be interesting.
That's a hell of a lap.
Right, yeah, Chris comes into the pits, so we will keep an eye on where he comes out. I'm going to go down on board with Napola, as Napola's very close to the back of George Ellis. George on the super soft, so I imagine he'll be trying to chop down some of those times that he's got. Napola a bit too far away by the looks of things.
Who's going to be hoping for a safety car then from here? Ice Cold Andy, you reckon?
Yeah, George Ellis as well.
I suppose. Yeah.
Possibly, well, even Chris, to be fair, on those super softs. He's the highest of the super soft runners, and he finds himself just outside the points. I know Chris isn't effectively in the Division 1 standings, but always be nice to see a name on there and get some points, because I mean, a lot of the Division 2 guys, as we've seen throughout the course of the season, can mix in with the Division 1 lot. So in my complete honest opinion, I would say, apart from maybe the top 6 to 8 drivers of Division 1, I would say that the rest of TUF is quite evenly balanced. Because you could see some of the guys like Miracles, who's leading Division 2. He's I would certainly put him in that bracket.
Something seems to be up with Fuzz's straight line speed, because he entered that last corner like 7 tenths behind Nikos, obviously within DRS, and ended up a second behind him.
Fuzz has hit the wall. He's lost half of his wing.
Just trying to push it too much.
Yeah, I think he accelerated too quickly coming out of turn 1, and he's hit the tyre wall on the right hand side. So Fuzzer now, if Fuzzer pits, he's going to come out around Ice Cold Andy and, sorry, not even further down than that. Fuzzer could find himself down in like 11th or 12th place, and he's going to have to pit because he's not going to catch the guys in front of him. So, and with 10 laps to go, I think he'll probably lose those places anyway. So Fuzzer's not going to be a happy bunny. Good Age has re-extended his lead at the top to nearly 2.5 seconds. But Costa's certainly giving him a good run for his money. And Luca, full credit to Luca as well. Only, what, 5.5, 6 seconds off of the leader. So deserves a tremendous amount of credit. But at the moment, there's not too much in the way of battles going. We've got a yellow in Sector 1. So I'm not too sure what's happened. And Woods has gone.
I'm not sure. Oh, Woods, yeah, he's binned it. That could be a safety car.
Did he lose his wheel? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Did he do that
Sector
intentionally,
1.
or?
I didn't see, I'm afraid.
Because I skipped to it and it looked like he just drove across into the wall. I could be wrong, but hopefully he didn't. But
he only just put these super softs on, so maybe a case of cold tyres.
Cold tyres, possibly, yeah. Well, so Lennon, looks like I might owe you a beer if this carries on. I'll send a fiver down.
Costa is regaining on Good 8s.
He certainly is. Okay, so Fuzzer has come into the pits. So what we will do is we will see where Fuzzer comes out. but he's going to lose a lot of places, I think. So he's lost it to Chris. So Chris finds himself inside the points now. And wherever is George Alice in all of this? Now George Alice, this could be close. Fuzzer just nicks ahead of him, but now Fuzzer has got unnecessary pressure and finds himself down in P11.
Yeah, Costa's doing a lot of the, well, he's in Rich now, but he was doing a lot of the lap then in Lean.
Yeah.
I know it's through the corners and stuff like that, but he does have 2 laps of extra fuel.
Well, it's interesting because he seems to be making up a lot of time, and then he seems to be losing it. So that gap is certainly fluctuating, but with 8 laps left of the Grand Prix, this could be quite a tasty end. But that time is certainly coming down, and Fuzzer's retired.
Fuzzer.
What has happened?
Yeah, bend it, bend it. Where's that? Oh, castle section.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Well, there's a car.
Struggled.
Yeah, there's a car in the middle of the track there, so could we see a safety car? I'm surprised we haven't so far, to be honest. Lennon, get writing your address to me, mate. I'll send you a £5.
Hang on, beers don't cost a £5, £3.50.
Well, you can have a beer and a half. That's the limit, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah. Hang on, there might be another couple of retirements. You never know.
Never
Might be
know.
able to save yourself some money.
Oh yeah, Lennon, I forgot to say, if not, then you have to send me a crate of beer. That was the deal. And
Yeah.
ravers as well.
Whoa.
Yeah. And everyone else watching in the stream.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's just I forgot.
Is there a need for all that beer?
Yeah. Well, okay.
I don't drink loads of beers.
You're a liar.
Well, there's no battles to talk about,
No.
really.
I mean, I must say, it's beautiful weather in Azerbaijan. I mean, we have got to that point where we're having to talk about the weather, but... Okay, actually, no, what I will do is we'll go through a rundown as we approach the start of lap 20. Well, nearly approaching the start of lap 20. So we have Good Aids in pole position. We have got Mr. Costa in second, 1.6 seconds behind, so that gap is coming down. Then we've got Luca, 4.5 seconds down the road in P3. Pubster Randy in P4, driving on his own. And then we've got Nikos, about 5 seconds behind in P5. And then we've got John, Good Aids' teammate, in P6. NR in a McLaren in P7, with second placed Mr. Ice Cold Andy in the championship down in P8. And then we've got Whiskey in P9 on course for his first points of the season. And then we've got Chris down in P10. And then George Alice in 11th, who's just picked up a time penalty, but he's got quite a hefty gap to Shone in P12. Doesn't look like he's going to be on for any points again today, unfortunately, for Shone. It was a good opportunity for him to pull away now that Corey's retired. And we've got Ox down in P13 and Napola, my favourite person in the world, in P14. And then we've got retirements from Fuzzer, Woods, Corey, Matty Suddens, Josh McGill and Funky Cobra. So only 14 guys left, and we've got 6 laps left of the Grand Prix. As it stands, I don't think anyone else is going to challenge the top 3. But the question is, will Mr. Costa catch up to Good Aids? What do you think?
I was just, as you were doing the rundown then, I was looking at Costa's management of fuel, and all the way through the lap he's going lean, standard lean, and then up to rich, and then standard, and then lean. It's very micromanagement of fuel. I'm no expert, as fucking everyone knows, but if it was me, I'd just go standard rich. Forget lean. He's got extra fuel. He's only got tyres older by 1 lap. They can't be that bad in that bad a condition.
No, I mean,
I'd try and get in that DOS as fast as possible.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking of is the fact that he knows that Good Aids is good with his tyres. He knows he's got good pace, and he knows that he doesn't really make many mistakes. I know he had a bit of a wobble in Canada the other day where he decided to lose his tyre. But what Mr. Costa is doing, even though he's in lean, he's keeping up this gap to Good. So I'm thinking if he's got a few laps of fuel left, I think for maybe around lap 23, I think we'll really see Costa push to the end. I think what he's trying to do is keep his tyres in his best nick as possible, so he can push on for the final few laps of the Grand Prix. And if that's the tactic he's going to have, then good luck to him. It certainly should be a good finish. Yeah, I've just literally changed to that. So
he ain't got any points, has he? We were saying earlier on, so
no,
how's he going to defend?
Well, he's under pressure from Chris, and then we've got George Ellis only 3.5 seconds down the road, and we know George Ellis does have a lot of pace. He's not had the best of evenings, and I think he's got a time penalty to his name as well, but you never know.
Ooh. Chris just outbrakes himself by the looks of things, and that might be damage.
I think it is, possibly on his front left. I certainly saw some debris.
Front left.
Yeah. Castle section, how's Chris going to handle this? Yeah, handles it well.
Yeah.
So I'm just reading the comments in the chat, and I think Corey's had a bit of a nightmare today. He said Pubster Andy's caused him wing damage. Whiskey put him in a wall and gave him wing damage, and Andy, and in caps lock, said my teammate puts me in a wall, gives me wing damage, and I've got no clue what happened in the pit lane. So someone's come up behind me and planed me straight into the wall. Oh dear. Well, that's not good. Yeah, not good at all. Anyway, George Ellis is creeping up to the back of this little battle that's going on now, and I think Whiskey is holding up Chris a bit, but like I said, Chris, we think he's sporting some wing damage. So yeah, should be interesting to see what happens here.
Now that gap between Costa and Grenades is back to 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? So Costa's either absolutely flying in one part of the circuit, or Good is maybe making some mistakes. Maybe Castle section just going a bit cautious. I mean, to be honest, if you're in a leading position, even if it is only by a couple of seconds, you don't want to overexert yourself and take any unnecessary risks and put yourself in a wall. So you never know. He might be noticing that time going up and down and knows where he's losing it, but he's just managing it. That could be what's happening. We don't know. Oh, okay, that was weird. It said that Costa was only 8 tenths behind Good, but he's actually 1.7. So, bit of a glitch.
Seems as though Grenades' car is better through the corners.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a cough. And Costa's obviously got more straight line speed. Just get in that DRS, you never know.
But we've seen these two guys have had plenty of fights before in this league and in others, so they know each other very well. They can trust each other. So, and most importantly, they're both going to know how each other are going to drive in a lot of circumstances. So,
Still having a go at Whiskey. You might be able to get the move done by the end of this lap.
yeah, well, I was just spectating the front two then and just seeing exactly what was going on. I was trying to keep an eye on where the time was being made and lost, and I think it's through the middle windy sections of the track is where Good Age is pulling off the pushing forward, sorry, and Costa's getting him on the long straights. I think Miracles has just put a message in the stream saying Chris going to get a point, or has George Ellis got him? I think that George Ellis will probably pass Chris, if I'm going to be brutally honest, but George Ellis has a 3-second time penalty, so I think Chris will jump him on the penalty, because he's still got a 1.5 seconds to make up as Ox retires. So Lennon, send me your address, mate.
What happened to Ox? Oh, he's just retired in the pits.
Yeah, I always find it's a shame when people do that because, like we saw last night, there was a safety car that came out at lap 22. So you can never know what's going to happen. George Alice running quite wide there. Ox has left straight away, but I think it's too late in the race to cause any form of glitch other than maybe a virtual safety car. Right, is it hammer time now for Mr. Costa? Three laps left.
Got to do something.
Okay, George Alice has really closed up. Nikos lagged out of the session actually. He said he just rejoined, so that's going to enable John to close the gap on him, I think. Let's go to George Alice. Yeah, John only 2 seconds behind Nikos now. 1.5. So what we'll do actually, we'll quickly jump to that and see whether Nikos can get back in his car. But John has just got through. There we go. So
I think Costa's had a good lap here.
In the nick of time, John has got past Nikos as Nikos rejoined into his car. So there we go. George Alice gets another time penalty in the Nikos of time. I see what he did there. Right, George Alice has another time penalty now, so he's got 6 seconds. So there's absolutely no danger of those two guys, I think.
Yeah, the gap now is 1.3, Costa and Good Aids. Only 2 laps left though.
Oh, I've just seen a very good word put in the chat, hindering. It's a very good word. Strong word. I admire your vocabulary. Okay, so these three guys are going to be battling out towards the end. Yeah, Chris has lost the position to George Alice, but I think as long as Chris stays within that time frame, he's not going to be too bothered. I think George Alice will try and push now. Oh, a bit naughty from Wiskit there. Changed his line a couple of times. They're going side by side, bit of contact.
Oh, Wiskit holds on.
Yeah, bit naughty from Wiskit in my opinion. You're only supposed to change your line once. He ducked to the inside quite late and then he moved to the outside. And now Chris has joined the party. George Alice can have a look. Oh, Wiskit's hit the wall. There we go.
And Chris he's going to end up 9th with those penalties for George.
Yeah, like I said though, the only thing to take into account is the fact that Chris does have damage. I know he's managing it well, but he does have damage. Anyway, that gap between Costa and Good Aids is now 1.3 seconds, but I don't think it's going to be enough. 1.2, unless he can get into the DRS range by the end of this lap. Oh, it's 1 second now. If Good Aids can get... If he can get round this corner now. Yeah, so Costa's not going to have DRS unless it is on the final straight, and I don't think he's going to make up a second in the lap to get that close to him. So, other than no mistakes, I think it's going to be Good Aids' win.
It's a shame because I mean I don't have a preference who wins. I know we're mates with Good Aids and that, but I would have preferred a more sort of just as a spectacle. Do you know what I mean? A bit more of a closer finish, because I thought it might have been developing into that a few laps ago, but
yeah, I mean,
Costa just couldn't quite get up to him.
I mean, to be honest with you, those guys haven't been on the stream too much, so we don't know really how Good Aids has been responding. Like, did he think to himself, well, I'll save my fuel and then bump myself up to Rich for the last couple of laps and just maintain the gap?
Is Wiskit gonna do something? Ooh, I think he might have thought about it.
I think he was trying to do that then. I think it's more hopeful than anything else. He does need a point. Well, he's going to get himself a point, providing he doesn't crash out because of George Alice. But he probably won't know that unless he's listening to the stream.
Good Aids takes the win.
Where is he? There we go, he crosses the line.
There we go.
In P1, it's excellent drive from Goudet, who extends his gap at the top of the driver's standings. So he got 21 points on Mr. Ice Cold Andy as it currently stands, and he was 8 points clear, so he's going to be 29 points clear. Mr. Costa takes second, so excellent drive from him. Luca, fantastic effort from him in P3, mixing with the big guns in Division 1. Really good effort. Pubster Andy doing his usual thing where he crashes over the line. Not too sure what's just happened here with John and Nikos. John just slowed right down. Anyway, John comes home in 5th. Nikos is in 6th. NR comes home in 7th. Mr. Ice Cold Andy is in 8th place. Chris Logan comes home in 9th. Whiskey in 10th, so he gets his first point of the season. George Alice in 11th. And Shone's going to come home in 12th, provided nothing silly happens here. And then Napola's going to bring the final car home in P13. So we have retirements from Ox, from Fuzzer, which is going to really damage his championship hopes. From Woods, from Corey, from Matty Suddens, from Josh McGill, and from Funky. Okay. Well, we've had basically 75 comments in the stream, which is good to see. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. We'll just see the guys lift up their trophies, and then we will discuss driver of the day. Get your votes in for driver of the day, guys, and I'll read them out as quickly as you can. There we see Gooday's on top of the podium. Yeah, well done today, Luca. Thought you was absolutely superb, mate. Costa in 2nd, Luca in 3rd. Grandad put in well done, lads. So yeah, interestingly enough, the top 4 all keeping their positions for the end of the race. So driver of the day, Pagani's put Luca. Who would you say?
It's between Goodades and Chris for me. I want to give it to Goodades, but man, Division 2 driver getting 9th in Division 1. That's impressive, I think.
Certainly is. Mr. Ice Cold Andy jumped up 10 places as well. I think, to be honest with you, anyone inside the top 3 deserves driver of the day, but in my opinion, I'm going to give it to Luca myself, purely on the basis that, like I said, he's a reserve driver, and he's really kind of exceeded expectations tonight in the nicest possible way. Goodades and Costa, you always expect to be towards the front. I mean, they both drive absolutely superb today. But I think Luca, purely on the basis that he's come out of nowhere tonight and got an excellent result for himself, so that's what I would do. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us tonight, guys, and hopefully it won't be so long next time before you hear our lovely voices again. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, Michael.
Thank you, man. Good to be here.
And we shall see you soon. Thank you very much, and peace out.